got here. When you're on the field and you keep playing the game and you can actually intensify the level that you're playing at, it does something remarkable when these things are over.
Right.
And it can seem a little bit like futile, with the extra time, the extra work, the extra hangups, the extra call. It seems like, man, I'm doing a lot of work right now and I'm not seeing any results from
Right.
it. Or
Right.
we're working twice as hard and we're still losing business.
Yep.
It can seem like that right now, but what you have to know is that you're building. It's basically like a slingshot. Like you're drawing back in a slingshot right now, and it's going to get hard the further you get back, and it just keeps getting harder the further you go back.
Right.
And that there's more and more resistance. And when this thing cracks loose, that slingshot just releases.
Yep.
And shoots you forward.
Yeah.
While you're barely treading water, staying afloat, people are going out of business.
Right.
And while you keep trying to figure out how to make things work or get to the next month or whatever, like, people are quitting and giving up. And so even though at times it can seem like you're making lateral moves right now and the effort and the energy is increasing tremendously.
Yep.
Just know that slingshot's drawn back. And I experienced this in 2010, 2011, 2012 with Grant, and coming out of the 2008 crisis.
That's right. You guys were in Los Angeles, because I've heard this story, and you basically had to reformat, and that's when he made that decision, that pivotal moment, to come out to Miami and rebuild, right?
Yeah, well, the first big pivot was taking the product online, because it was the business was seminar based.
Right.
So the first pivot was online, and then at the time he had gotten through some real estate challenges, like the banks were calling notes due, because the last financial crisis, that if you had big loans, the bank was coming after you.
Right.
This one's a tad different. But he actually bought a big portfolio out in Florida. And when he came out to look at it, he's like, oh man, we got to get here. And so that's
right.
That really is, we went from 16 employees down to 3.
Wow.
And, we're up to 180 people. We had to let 42 people, we had to lay 42 people off this week. It was tough. It was brutal.
I saw that entrepreneur, the employment video that Grant put out. And, man, you can hear it in his voice how hard that is for him to do. But he talks about the vessel, and he has to keep the vessel afloat so that he can bring those people back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's no matter what, there's no way that conversation flips somebody. You know, I mean, it's you tell that to somebody who's getting laid off, they don't care at that point. They just care about how they're going to pay their bills.
Right.
So it really is a challenging situation, because it's kind of a no-win.
Yep.
Grant's an asshole for laying people off. They don't understand it because it doesn't make sense to them.
Right.
Like there's no way to spin it other than if you have a few haters because you're trying to save the business, then you either pick the haters or you pick no business. Which one?
Right.
Which one you want? So we're just in a time now that's tricky and challenging, and people got to make decisions and change their operating basis in their business, and know that there's a new environment that they kind of have to get accustomed to operating in.
No doubt. Well, I appreciate you. I know it's late there, and you did the mentor call last night, so I appreciate you joining us. I wanted to bounce a couple things off you. Brandon's going to join us. For those of you on Instagram, Brandon's getting prepped over here right now. He's going to join us in about 6 minutes. He is going to answer questions. A lot of people have been DMing us questions, just like Jared. I know you and Grant are getting asked, what do we do? We've never been through anything like this. Where do we start even? I think something that's really interesting is the word innovation. You talk about the tension in the slingshot, and that eventually you're going to catapult forward. I think one of the ways that you can do that right now, and I'd love your thoughts on this, is through creative innovation. And when I use the word innovation, I always think tech. I think a lot of people, when they hear innovation, they think, ooh, the Uber, the startup, the tech, the innovation. There's a story of 3 restaurants here in Portland that were in the Pacific Northwest that were going to be forced to close their doors. But because they joined together and combined their ingredients, and they created a separate menu, a shared menu with a delivery service only, they were all able to sustain and keep their employees. To me, that's innovation. It doesn't take tech. It doesn't take a strong data backend. It doesn't take massive cloud computing. Creative innovation right now is just about using the resources and community and the strength of others and building something together. And so that's when I watched Mentors yesterday, and we go into 10X Owners Live today. This is the breeding ground for creative innovation.
Yeah, and usually people think of innovation as a product gets better,
right?
Like, or they're creating something new. Innovation is defined as a new method, idea, the act or process of innovating. So, like when I read that, I think of your innovation in your thought process, innovation in your schedule,
right.
innovation in, like literally it's change. And hopefully for the better. I think innovation implies that you're searching for something better.
Right.
And so innovation can take place in every area of your business. It can take place in each of the quadrants of your business. It can,
right.
It can take place anywhere. And so it could be innovation in compensation plan.
Yep.
Like you may just have to find a lot more ways to get creative, and it's all based in the question, how could it be possible to do it this way?
Right.
And then you just got to start asking those questions, and
yep.
And the more committed you are, the more creative your ideas will be. That's like a mantra that we've had in our business for a long time. Like creativity follows commitment. The more committed you are, the more apt you are to find solutions.
That's right. Yep, absolutely. We've got about 2 minutes here before we bring Brandon on. If you're on Instagram right now, I just want you to know that is Jared from Cardone Enterprises, who I'm talking to. You can't hear him on Instagram because you did not join our 10X Owners Live link, which you can do at CardoneVentures.com. Sign up, and it's free every Tuesday, 5 o'clock Pacific, 8 o'clock Eastern. So Instagram folks, you will hear Brandon today, but if you want, it's not too late. You can actually join now. Go to CardoneVentures.com if you want to get the other half of this and hear more inspiration being spit by my friend Jared. The daycare my kids go to, I just thought this was innovative too. They started doing story times on Zoom at noon, and the kids in the house sit around the laptop and they get story time from their teachers on Zoom. Isn't that great?
Amazing.
Yeah, it's just
everybody's having to innovate.
Everyone.
Like the trading floor is closed at the New York Stock Exchange.
Right.
So people are having to get creative there. Newscasters or the guys on CNBC in the morning, they're in their house, and it's just crazy times. But this is Grant said in the call last night, he said it's moments like this when there's some type of economic event and it creates a lot of disruption.
Right.
And there's a lot of businesses who are coming into this that were married to, you got to show up in an office every day.
Right.
That are going to have remote people working, and they're going to go, wow, we were actually still as productive as we were before.
Yep.
And we didn't have to have an office.
Right.
We didn't have to have there are companies that are going to come out of this and go, hey, I'm going to go remote.
Right. Yep. A whole new business model. You said this yesterday. A lot of business models will be born out of this moment, right? Like there's going to be people that innovated so well that they actually create entirely new business verticals that didn't exist in the past.
Well, a lot of problems are being created right now.
Right.
Like there's a lot of problems that are being created.
That's right.
That smart, intelligent entrepreneurs find solutions for.
Yep.
And when you solve a problem and that problem is worth money to people, then you can create a really successful business.
No doubt. No doubt. Well, Jared, I know you're busy. We do have questions. We got a ton of questions. Some of them are definitely like how to lead a sales team from virtual locations. I'd love, if you could hang out, I'd love for you to hang for a little bit as we go back and forth. We're going to bring Brandon up here in just a minute. But I want to appreciate you for taking time to join today. I know you've just been really busy working through. Is there anything you want to mention to this audience? I know some of this audience is familiar with you and Grant Cardone and Brandon Dawson. Some of this audience may not be. So if there's anything that you want to say now, feel free to take the floor.
I mean, this is, Grant, he did a meeting for us and he said, hard times make great people. So a lot of us have no idea really what's going on, the magnitude of what's really going on. I think that we all get inside our little bubbles and sometimes it can be hard to get the magnitude or the scale at which things are really changing.
Right.
And how, I had the CEO of Marriott, Arne Sorensen, Arnie Sorensen or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
He said, dude, US revenues could be off 90%.
Wow.
So it's like, and that's one of the largest companies in hospitality. And, you go, the CEO of Microsoft. I mean, it's just, CEO after CEO after CEO of the biggest companies in the world are talking about how they're communicating. And, we're mostly in the small business space. And so you're, probably under 25 employees or something like that.
Right.
A few more people out there that might be bigger than that. But, can you imagine trying to communicate change when you have 5,000 employees?
Right.
When you're a global company, navigating these things can get extremely complex.
Yep.
And so like, what's important to you? We keep saying over communicate. That's really important right now. Continue to over communicate.
Right.
And make sales and business acquisition senior to everything. If there's projects you guys have been working on and building that aren't going to be money today.
Yep.
Maybe you put a hold on that project. I had one of our developers was like, hey, I want to work on the 10X GrowthCon site. And I said, yeah, it's great that we need a new site for that. But, that event is until February of 2021.
Right.
And, right now there are more things that we can do that are money today for us.
No doubt.
That will provide us with cash flow that are a better use of time. So let's find some ways to use you to do that.
Yep.
And, so it's just little tiny decisions like that, make a difference when they're magnified out,
No doubt. Cool.
I'm doing things that I wasn't doing 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
Our sales director's doing things he wasn't doing 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
Our newer sales guys, they're not even allowed to pitch deals right now. Every deal gets pitched by a senior rep.
Right.
So
yeah, you almost go into startup mode, right? Everybody, no matter how big you are.
Every deal matters. You have to be tight right now.
Yep.
And the smaller your business, the tighter you have to be on everything.
No doubt.
And you got to expect that if the customer's spending fewer dollars right now, there's more competition to get that buck from them.
Yep.
And so whether now your competition isn't just your a peer with the same product. Your competition is toilet paper and hand sanitizer and
necessities.
You have a lot of competition right now.
Definitely.
So you need to compete at a high level.
Jared, I appreciate you taking a minute to kick things off with me. If you can hang, we would love that. We've got a lot of really great content today for 10X Owners Live. We'll just take a really quick break. We'll do just 30 quick seconds. I'm going to get Brandon situated. He's in the studio now. Can we take the Nick camera? Can we see Brandon? Here we go. Here's Brandon. He's getting ready. He's coming. 10X Owners Live. Get ready. It starts in about 30 seconds. Stand by, everybody. We're going to get to your questions today. There he is. That's the back of my head there. Thank you for that, Sticky's in charge.
All right. Hey, we're excited to be on our first live 10X Owners Live program with Buck in the house.
That's right.
So I know that if you guys just joined us, we're excited to have you on our first. It's actually our second, but
We'll call it our first.
We'll call it our first real show.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we want to do is answer questions from business owners. This is such interesting times. Grant was on with Jared, and we just had Jared on the pre-show, and he's going to be on the show with us. But talking about the decisions that someone like Grant's making with Cardone, and a lot of you have heard this stuff, and some of you are new to the whole Cardone family. So we want to welcome you. We know we have a lot of people that haven't experienced us before, but the whole purpose of this show is to engage with business owners and people who are struggling maybe, or who are excited, or who are confused, and be able to answer questions for people that will give them some insight and perspective on how to grow and scale a business, even when caught off guard with something like what we're dealing with right now. One of the things I wanted to talk about is we had talked yesterday. Grant actually did a YouTube video on Cardone making the decision to eliminate some positions within the organization. And the reason I wanted to bring this up is desperate times requires swift, conscientious, determined leadership decisions. And I think that when you have a business and you pause or delay at critical moments in time, that's when you get caught in the vortex. And so we're going to be talking about how to make solid, profound decisions. There is always a process to making decisions in order to preserve the long-term perspective of your organization and business. And so we're going to be talking and fielding questions around those areas as well. So
that's right. Hey, can we pull up Zoom and get a shot of everybody? I'd like to just get a general hello. Everybody, can you wave if you're on Zoom? I see Sean and his beautiful wife there in Salt Lake City. I see Peter, Tom, and there's Ashley with her 10X hat on. Look at this. Heather, there she is. I got everybody.
Awesome.
Look at this. Wow. Thank you guys so much.
Awesome.
I mean, doesn't this, when you see the amount of people that want to join this, it just shows you that, like, the times that we're in right now and how many people are looking for answers.
Yeah, I think people are looking for answers. You know, Grant started the mentors call at the beginning of the year with Jared, and I've made most of those mentor calls, and we get somewhere around 700 to 1,000 people on those calls.
Yep.
I think that what people are looking for is not only leadership, but real life examples. This is a follow the leader scenario. And I think that most people are confused because they're not sure who the leader is, and they don't know which examples they should follow.
Right.
And so what we want to make sure that we do, we have the Mentors program for those. In fact, we'll let you know how to become part of the Mentors program for those that are interested in doing that. But every single week, we're going to be doing a 10X Owners Live program as well for business owners. And then we have a private program for everyone who's engaged us and is working with us that we'll be doing on Wednesdays to answer very specific tactical, strategic, and operational and financial and marketing questions with our leadership team.
So if you want to get really drilled in on solutions, tomorrow at noon, that's the 360 roundtable.
That'll be the 360 roundtable.
Okay.
That's correct.
And if you want to sign up for that 10X 360 roundtable, if you want to be a part of that, you can reach out to Josh. If you take Nick's camera, show Josh, he's in the back. We're all 6 feet apart, just so everyone knows. There's Josh. You can email him right now, jdawson@cardoneventures.com. He's been on phones all day with business owners who are saying, I have this challenge and this is something I've never dealt with before. I need to get with Brandon. And we say, hey, let's get into the roundtable, and that's tomorrow at noon. So we're going to bring up, Brandon, if you're ready for this, Steve. Do we have Steve on Zoom? Steve Lagostino is the CEO of TRC Electronics in Pennsylvania. And Steve has been an alum of the Cardone Ventures family. He's been through the 360s. He's platformed with us If you're not familiar with these products, again, email Josh, he can explain them to you, but he's deeply entrenched in the Cardone Ventures ecosystem, and his business is interesting. We chatted yesterday. He actually has products in the medical space, so he is an essential business. Did I get that right, Steve?
You got it. You got it.
Yeah, so I know, listen, you've done some one-on-one coaching with Brandon, and you were explaining that you've already put some protocols in place for your business. I'd love to hear about them and then have you just chat with Brandon really briefly on what you guys are doing.
Okay, great. Hi, guys. Hi, Brandon.
Hey, Steve, how are you, brother?
Considering the circumstances, I'm doing great. We've made some adjustments to our business, and we kind of saw this coming a couple weeks ago. So we were semi-prepared for it. And right now we've got almost our entire office staff is working remotely. And that's a big change for us because we always had almost all of them were typically under one facility. And so we had everyone in one building. Now we've got a sales force, everybody working remotely. And we have a warehouse, and it's critical that we ship because we ship product, and that's our cash flow. So we split our warehouse into 2 3-day shifts. So we split the teams up so that if anybody got sick, we didn't lose our whole entire warehouse. We only risking half of it, half the warehouse team. We're looking pretty good right now. It's maybe 80 to 90% of our customers are open for business because they're considered to be customers that are businesses that are essential. And I think that, Brandon, if I had a question for you, what I'd really like to hear your take on this. Many of us have a workforce that normally operates in a single facility, and instantaneously, overnight, so many of us have a workforce that's working remotely. And, working remotely presents challenges for some people. And, we have some things we're doing here to handle that. But what are your recommendations to help them maintain their motivation, their focus, and their productivity? What would you recommend a business leader like myself that overnight my workforce went from being in my headquarters to being at their homes and on their own working independently?
Yeah, it's a great question, Steve. And first and foremost, I want to commend you for taking those decisive acts and thinking through the logistics and strategy of if and ors or whats, because this hit, you split your warehouse, you made these other considerations in order to protect the business and make sure you understood the pieces of the business that generate revenue, which is the shipping of the items so that you can then collect the money for them. And I think the first thing is building, now that this event has happened, for business owners who were completely caught by surprise and didn't know what to do, because there was a lot of them, listening to business owners like yourself who are very successful, you have a very large organization and team, you've got a different set of issues, but for people to listen that you actually formulated a strategy, executed on the strategy, and had some different considerations involved to protect the business, I commend you, and I think that's why you've got such a successful business. What this new situation is creating is a great opportunity because of what you just said. Now all of a sudden you have salespeople and employees that aren't sitting in an environment where everything is closely controlled, everyone is in the ecosystem working tightly together. One of the things I would make sure you do is if you lose your tracking ability, because when you're at the office, you're making calls and you're using handsets, you can track outbound calls and all the things, all your key performance indicators that you would normally look at to see efficiency and effectiveness with close rates and outbound attempts and all that. I would create a digital dashboard. I would use a manual dashboard. I'd have one person, everyone emails in at the end of the day how many outbound attempts, what the results were. I would be running a daily flash, if you're not doing it, where you're still calculating the activities of everyone that's going on, and I would have a protocol at the end of the day where they sent an email to you that said, here's exactly what happened during the day. Those emails would get consolidated and updated into a push digital dashboard so every employee feels like they're still connected with what's happening in real time in the business, and the competitiveness of making sure you're making your calls, making sure your conversions are happening, making sure your orders are being taken. So making sure that everybody on your team still feels that daily accountability and that community of being part of something that's happening in real time. Because when you lose that, people tend to relax a bit and they like, oh, I'm working from home, I'll make a few less calls and I'll not push quite as hard and I'll go spend an extra hour here. But if they know that everything's being tracked daily, are you tracking daily right now?
I'm doing everything you're talking about.
This is why I love working with you, man. And this is why I wish you were coaching with me 3 months previous so all this could be my idea. No, but the reality is that's why you have a big business. That's why you're doing well. But for everyone that's listening to this, this is keeping everybody in alignment with the mission, getting more out of your people, making more phone calls. Hey, look, if it took 100 phone calls a day to land a new client that transacted business, today it's going to take 500 phone calls because all those potential clients are consumed with their own series of concerns and worries. But one of the things I would do is also encourage my team to pick the minds of the people they're talking to and send a new idea at the end of every single day of a way a client said, if you could help me in these areas, I would do more business with you. What most businesses don't understand is in moments like this in crisis, they react as a victim of circumstance and they start internally looking at all the things they're doing inside to mitigate risk. This is the golden moment. This is the moment where all the new ideas, and Jared talked earlier in the pre-show about innovation, this is where all the new ideas come to you. What if all of a sudden you start doing these things and your sales increase? You make more outbound calls, you get better conversion rates in a down market. You're getting concepts and shared ideas from employees from the field about things they did or things they said or questions they asked that stimulated a response of, if you guys offered this other service or this other product, I would do business with you right now because this is what I need. Like, have every single team member be ultra sensitive instead of just focusing on the transaction and the sale, collecting data from every person who's a current customer or a potential customer of what other things do you need today that could have helped you or can help you, and how can we find those things and solve problems for you? Because what you'll find are the people on the front line, they don't have the resources, they don't have the people, they don't have the staff, they don't have the ingenuity, they don't have all the brain power of the executive teams coming up with great ideas like you do. So be that for those customers. Ask at the end of every call, what 3 resources, if you had right now, could help you grow your business? You want to collect that information because that will actually give you concepts and ideas if there's enough coming from the field to maybe start new lines of business that you didn't actually think about before.
That's awesome. I want to remind people on Zoom, if you have questions, you should be, our entire staff is online. Josh Dawson is in there, Heather's in there, Ashley's in there, Rich is in there. So if you have questions for Brandon, please ask your questions, and you can have your questions answered just like Steve here in this Zoom chat. I also want to remind everyone that tomorrow at noon, we will be doing the 10x 360 roundtable where you can get advice like that from Brandon. Something that sparked when you mentioned, Brandon, about keeping people connected. We had Slack, but we implemented it across our entire employee group now, so that we can have those one-on-one video face-to-face conferences, not just in a meeting, but in casual conversations. So now we're setting up for a virtual workspace. Yep. Also, you mentioned data and reporting. HubSpot CEO came out today and said, and I see a lot of businesses doing this, now is not the time to try to blow our revenue up. Now is the time to help people. Yeah. So the CEO of HubSpot came out today and said enterprise level at entry level access price. Yeah. So that's any awesome. Business that needs more data, needs to reach more customers in email, he's opening up enterprise today for entry level businesses. Perfect.
Awesome. Well, Steve, thank you, man. And I know we have other questions, but I want to talk a little bit about the number one question that I've been getting from people is, how did I prepare at Cardone Ventures for this? So this is really important because it's fairly public, the decisions that Grant and Jared and the executive team at Cardone Training and Enterprises needed to make in order to fortify. See, this is a word I'm going to use. When you're confronted with a massive challenge, the first instinct needs to be assessing certain specific critical data points and then fortifying. So it's almost instantly. There's not time for hesitation. This has happened. What is going to be the short to middle term result of that? How do we fortify and protect right now? Now, if you've not been through this or been through crises, it's very difficult to understand how to do that. When you have been through them, as I have, and because I've spent my whole career managing thousands of businesses for business owners, at various points in time, they all go through a break point. This is just another break point. So when I established Audigy Group, I had a very specific methodology in how I wanted to build the business. I had enough capital for 6 months. At the end of the 6 months, I wanted to generate and save enough cash for 90 more days. At the end of those 90 days, I wanted to be able to do 1 month at a time until I could build 90 days of additional resource. When I achieved 90 days of capital, which all my expenses per month, I had 1 month for a 4th month in business. So I just very, very granularly had a strategy. If I'm in business 90 days, I wanted to generate enough profit to buy me 1 more month in being in business. Once I saved enough capital, then I wanted to have 90 days of capital in business. So whatever my expenses were, I had at least enough money to be in business another 90 days if all the revenue shut off. Once I got to 90 days, I said 6 months. Once I got to 6 months, I wanted to have a year's worth of operating capital. Now, this is important because Grant and I launched Cardone Ventures in June of last year. So we've effectively only been in business now for 9 months. And I took the exact same methodology. But because I have productive paranoia, which is a Jim Collins concept from Good to Great, Great by Choice, and How the Mighty Falls, I actually wanted to have more than 1 month and then 3 months and then 6 months and 9 months, because I knew that in this business, the complexity of the business, there was a bunch of capital investments I would need to make at a strategic point in time. I wanted to have the cash. So now I've been caught just like every other business in this vortex. But unlike Grant had a mature company with 180 employees, I have an adolescence company. So I have an up and coming, a growing organization. I'm still hiring a few strategic people because in the discipline of starting the business, I have 7 months of operating capital plus a reserve of 2 months that I was going to spend for technology platforms and services that we were going to integrate in the business, but I've held off on that until this corrects. So from my standpoint, I have 6 to 7, 8 months of operating capital. So instead of stopping what we're doing, we're reallocating our capital resources, we're reallocating some of the hires, and then we're going to dig deeper into our deliverables and forward invest in some programs that we can start delivering sooner because you need them now, not in 6 months or a year. So under Cardone Capital structure or Cardone Venture structure, we are sitting in a position where we have 6 to 9 months of capital, so we don't have the immediate pressure on us. The pressure we do have is to deliver sooner, bigger, better, faster to you so you can pull those resources and initiate. Jared used the analogy of a slingshot. Right now, my daughter hunts bow. I grabbed her bow when I was up to see her last, and I tried to pull on that thing, and it's a technique. I couldn't get the thing to go back. But if you think about where you're at right now, you're pulling at the maximum point to pull that bow back. But when you get it back, it gets easier. When you release, it really gets easy. And what you need to be thinking about right now is you're in the process of pulling that bow back, preparing yourself, conditioning yourself, learning the technique to be ready at the moment that you need it, because here's the most important thing, Buck, that I think I want to make sure everybody understands. When you have disruptions or contractions in the marketplace, something really remarkable happens. Now, you're going to have to place yourself into one of the 3 definitions I'm going to give you, but place yourself into one of those 3 definitions and then ask yourself, how do I get into the definition that I want to be in? When you have a contraction like this in the market or a disruption, you have 3 categories of business that you compete against.
Take notes.
Okay, take notes here. You have great big businesses that are bloated, they're political, they're hierarchical, they're slow, they slow to react. That's a competitor of yours. Then you have these businesses that are startup, I call them slammers. They're just doing anything and everything they can, and they'll give business away, and they're just trying to dig for customers. And then you have the tweener businesses, the ones that are run well, the ones that are nimble, the ones that can be quick, the ones that can make fast decisions and have just enough maturity, just enough wisdom, because they've been in the street, they've been grueling and fighting for years, like Grant Cardone. The decision to act fast was an experienced decision. How deep to cut, who to cut, when to cut, how to keep people in reserve. Those are all decisions made by mature business owners who have weathered the storm. Now, if you're a tweener business right now, you're going to lose 2 competitors. The big guys are going to go away for a while, and the slammers are going to disappear, which means your marketplace is going to expand for you. Should you prepare yourself properly for the launch? Means you have to be ready. But these are moments and times where this disruption can create all sorts of remarkable opportunities, but it will be your mindset that will determine how well you take advantage of these moments.
Well said. Let's look at Zoom real quick, Bryce. I want to see if you could raise your hands if you have questions, because we are going to be taking questions in just a bit. I'd love to just get the Zoom back up there. If you have questions that you want to ask Brandon, could you guys just raise your hand, and we'll start picking a few people to go live with Brandon here in just a moment. So, okay, Josh has a few people standing by. All right, Sean's got some questions.
Let's do it.
So, really quickly, we've got questions from your Instagram. All week you've been asking people on Instagram, send me your questions. I'll answer them on 10X Owners Live.
Yep.
So you had about 400 questions total. I tried my best.
And some random people were able to call my cell and get a hold of me. So I didn't. So
They're tracking you, man.
Yeah, they're tracking.
They got your number somehow. But I pulled 5 really good questions. So
Okay.
we'll try to make these quick. We'll go rapid fire here. So Terry said, how is Cardone Ventures? You answered that. How is Cardone Ventures doing? How did you plan? You just answered that. So Terry, there's your answer. Jennifer from Pittsburgh, how will this crisis change how you do business? I think you kind of mentioned that, but do you want to speak to it?
Yeah, I think for me, it just reinforces it reinforces when you have a big picture. See, if you have a small picture and you make small accommodations, then you get caught when there's a vortex, or you're worse, not able to take advantage of any opportunities because you don't have the resources. So for me, it just reinforces the strategy of productive paranoia, really solid strategic planning, financial acumen. I always ask the question, what is the financial health of our business? Which means there's a bunch of indicators for financial health, which our CFO on one of our shows will get into. If you're looking at the right things, you're planning the right way, and you're adjusting your growth of the business the right way, and you follow, listen, Grant Cardone in every boot camp talks about how to leverage financial resources and generate income and revenues off of the core business that you do. Most people do it the wrong way. They get distracted with things that are outside their core business. Learning these techniques, learning these tools, coming to boot camp and coming to the events and learning this stuff is how you develop and learn. For me, it just reiterates the importance of these things because nobody saw this coming.
Yep. At Nanolek on Instagram said, what should someone do if they're just starting a business in quarantine? That sounds crazy.
Yeah. Well, you know what? For me, I think this is such a great opportunity. You know where your target's at. You know where people are at. People have time right now. Look, real money does not go to people with big degrees. Real money does not go to great salespeople. Real money flows to problem solvers to the extent that you solve bigger problems using your techniques, using your skill sets, using your degree, using your innovation and wisdom and communication skills. To the extent that you solve bigger problems, you're going to get bigger real money. So when you think of the problem you have today, whatever that might be for your business or for yourself, everyone else has that same problem. So the opportunity is to figure out a way, a methodology to solve your problem. And if you're starting a business today in this environment, figure out a more creative way to get a hold of people, figure out a more creative way to engage people, figure out offer solutions that people need right now to help them. You figure that out, you're going to be able to start a business in any market in any downtime. And just as a point of perspective, in 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011, when I had Audigy Group, I just want to be clear, I was on the Inc. 500, Inc. 5000 list. I was 5 times fastest growing private company, 2 times Inc. Higher Power Award for hiring more people in the country than anybody else. So I understand in down markets, the strategies and structures to accumulate, hire, and execute in the business with business opportunities. And it all stems from listening to people that have huge problems. Jared talked about this, Grant talks about this. To the extent that you can solve other people's problems, they'll trust you, they'll work with you, and they'll want to do business with you because you know what you're doing.
I love this question from @investor_grinding. I just had the conversation last night with my wife, Allie. I know you say this all the time. You say what you think is what you say is what you do becomes your legacy. But the one piece to that I think people skip over really quickly is what you think is what you say. So he's asking, how do you keep your business partner or your spouse calm?
Yeah, look, man, it's easy to understand why people are freaking out right now. And trust me, I don't want to minimize any individual's concerns, fears, anxieties, stress, resistance. What you need to do is sit down with your partner and create. Grant talks about your ideal scene. I talk about your personal, professional, and financial future. This is not a break from where you want to be. This is creating an opportunity to get there faster, to get there more impactfully. How you view this situation will determine what you do next. It is really important to get on the same page. And the way my checklist in emergencies is this. I'm going to share this with you. For me, I do it this way. The moment something bad happens, I stop. As soon as that emotion hits, I stop and I take 1 minute and I ask myself this question. Am I okay right now? Right this second, am I okay? I only need 1 or 2 minutes of clear thinking to ensure I make a good decision as my next decision. So when there's an emergency, I process. Am I safe right now? Am I okay? If the answer is yes, then I take a deep breath and I realize this moment in time is okay. What you're afraid of, what your spouse is afraid of, is a future moment in time potentially. If you're terrified of this moment in time, then there's a checklist and we can get into that later. But usually people in the moment of time are okay, the present moment. What you're afraid of loss, you're afraid of disruption, you're afraid of all the bad things that can happen. So your mind moves to those things. What you think about is what you talk about. What you talk about is what you create. This is the opportunity with your spouse to sit down and say, what would we want to have happen? Let's just forget that we're in this moment right now. Fast forward 5 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. What exactly do we want our life to look like then, personally, professionally, financially? What is the ideal view, the ideal image for us? What opportunities are being created today? Let's start thinking about either what we need to do to start shutting some things down, reallocate some resources, which emails to send to whom in order to stop certain things. I pulled out of a $5.5 million project that we were going to break ground on in 60 days. I just called and said, stop. I'm pulling my money out of the banks. If you don't want to be my partner in the future, that's okay. But I am going to pull back. I'm going to limit all the different activities I'm involved in because I'm going to channel 100% of my energy and effort on helping every single business owner. See, my big picture is sharing this with your spouse is important. Natalie is fully aligned with this. My kids, my family, everyone understands. My big picture is I want to be known in crisis moments that I can help business owners break through and achieve the next level of success. Because if I can be known as a person that helped business owners do that in moments of crisis, I will have a high level of trust with people in every day, trusting me that I can help them. Therefore, I need to reduce all the things that are distracting me, and I need to focus on one relationship at a time. I need to do things like this so I'm exposed to the people that need the help. And so you need to explain to your spouse, like, why you're making decisions, what decisions you need to make, where you want to go, so that you're completely and entirely aligned. And then ask your spouse to take the fear energy and help convert it to opportunity energy by thinking through solutions on the checklist that you can do to fortify right now as a team, not losing sight that you have a bigger picture that you're moving to.
Perfect. All right, Victoria Jennings has a quick question, and she's on our Zoom. Are we able to pull Victoria up? Yeah. All right. Hey, Victoria. Oh, there she is. We don't have Victoria's audio. Did you unmute her?
Okay.
There she is.
Perfect. Hi, Victoria.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, we hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, cool. My question is, in these times, Brendan, should we stop paying ourselves first? Because I pay myself a salary plus I pay myself 10% of monthly turnover. Should I now stop that? I've got 3 months behind me of operating costs, so we're good for 3 months. But at the moment, should I stop that and just focus everything on getting to 6 months behind us at the moment?
Yes, that's a great question. So I'm not paying myself now. Grant's not paying himself now. We've stopped. I don't know what he's done at Cardone, but I can almost assure you that he's stopped distributions to himself. Because, see, when you have a business, if the businesses are their own entity, and it's like being a parent of a child. Your responsibility is to your business because your business's responsibility is to the magnitude of mission that you've established it for. There may be other people involved with that have families as well. So I say you feed the business in times of emergency, and then you pay yourself back when the business grows to the next level. So this is the thing that a lot of people struggle with, right? It's really easy when things are going well and business owners are buying new cars and business owners have nice homes, but when the shit hits the fan and everyone wants to still or needs to get paid and you stop paying yourself, that risk, that liability, that responsibility falls onto the business owners. And so, you know, what you see is when you make swift, hard decisions like eliminating positions within the organization. See, the whole art in an organization is that you're scaling ahead of the growth so that you always have the manpower, you always have the experience ready, so when your revenues go, you can service your clients. Well, in Cardone's cases, we were growing so fast that we were having to hire ahead of our growth trajectory. And so immediately when that growth trajectory went like this, we needed to go like this. And the calculations were easy to come up with. And unfortunately, there's lives involved, and there's people involved, and there's families involved. But the fact is, that had to be done because there's still 100 people or 90 people that we need to fortify. And so there are risks and really super hard decisions that are made when you own a business. And the hardest decision sometimes isn't the decision to stop paying yourself. It's when you don't have the money to pay your employees and you need to go get that and bring it back so that you can keep the ones you need to take care of. And so I commend you for the question, but I would say to you, you've got 90 days of operating capital. If you listened at my opening, that means you need to come up with another 30 days of operating capital. When you get 30 more days of operating capital, set a target to get another 90 days of operating capital so that you have 6 months of operating capital. So reset your strategic initiatives in order to build 1 month at a time until you can build 1 quarter of a time, until you can build half years at a time, until you can build full years at a time, and make that your priority and fight to win at that every single moment, because those will drive you to decisions that you need to make right now in order to protect, fortify, preserve, and position your organization for the next level of growth. When the market shifts, you'll be prepared for that.
Hey, Victoria, where are you from?
Brisbane, Australia.
Oh, you're in Australia. Okay,
Wonderful.
great. Fantastic.
Yeah, and we're in an essential industry, so we're fine.
Okay.
we'll be good. We'll get
That's
through
great.
this.
That's great. Are you in the 360 Roundtable yet? Have you signed up to be a part of the 360 Roundtable tomorrow at noon?
I heard about it today, so I'm very interested in that.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Josh is sitting just behind me here. Jay Dawson at CardoneVentures.com. I would love, because that's such a great question.
Yep.
And the great thing, and Brandon, you tell me as we start to put the roundtable together, it's really a great place for like-minded business owners to have questions like that and to
100%.
and to
These,
network.
like critical decision making, there's not a resource for people to be able to talk to people who've been through it over and over and over. And we are putting out some literature and guidelines and like I've been getting hit with, how do I look at my organization?
Yep.
Look, you look at your revenues, you look at your profitability, and you look at your cash. Cash is king right now. Cash is king. So then you look at your expense line, you look at your costs, and you start attacking your costs until you can move your costs below some threshold of cash that you can then protect and fortify the organization. And if you have these rules of 90 days, then 120 days, and then 6 months, and then 1 year in place of reserves, then you're working against those reserves, taking into consideration your revenue, your profitability, and your cash. And then there's a methodology to how to identify your top third employees, your middle third employees, your lower third employees, and how to make swift and decisive decisions that will benefit the organization both in the short term and the long term, and take all the emotion out of that equation. And so I always say you do a third, a third, a third. So if you have 150 people working for you, 50 are probably going to need to go. 50, half of them will probably need to go. And then the 75 will be your fortified group of people that will step up to the plate in an opportunity to show you that they want to be the next round of future leadership that you can depend on. So there is a very specific process you go through, and these are the things that we're going to be talking about.
Yeah, so yesterday on the mentor call, I heard someone in the automotive industry talking about how they had to become creative and innovative at a time like this. So they started talking about home delivery, like what are some of the things they can do. We are going to talk to Rob Ruth momentarily, who is, again, a client of ours, who's been through our 360s.
And was crushing it in business.
Absolutely crushing it. So we're going to get the effect of the automotive industry here in just a minute. But first, let's pull up Ben Beard, who's on our Zoom right now. By the way, if you're on Instagram Live and you have not signed up to join the interactive piece, you can go to CardoneVentures.com. Are we also on Facebook Live right now?
We are on Facebook.
Okay, so if you're on Facebook or Instagram.
Are we on
you
YouTube Live?
Yes, we are.
YouTube as well.
Nice.
Yep. So all those platforms, if you're on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and you want to actually interact, just like our friend Ben Beard here is about to interact, go to CardoneVentures.com, and it's super simple. Name, email, phone number, and then we'll spit you out a link to join us at 10X Owners Live every Tuesday. We kick off 5 o'clock Pacific, and then that's 8 o'clock East Coast, of course, if you're on the East. Or in Australia, I don't know what time that is in Australia right now. But go ahead, Ben.
Hey, Ben.
Hey, Brendan. Definitely appreciate you taking my call. I'm a home builder in southern New Mexico, and we're growing quickly. Right now, we're deemed an essential industry, and so we're able to keep building. So far, the last few weeks, this hasn't affected us. We're still writing new sales contracts, still closing houses. Just had the best quarter we've ever had, actually. But I've got a new superintendent lined up to start next Monday, and I'm trying to figure out if I should still bring him on or just say, hey, look, man, I got to have you wait for a few months until we see what happens here.
That's a great question. So the trends, this is really important. What I find, and what my CFO, Mike Halloran, and the reason that you're going to have exposure on these shows to myself, to Buck, to Mike Halloran, these are law of the lid is the highest. A lid is a cap, right? So what everyone needs to surround themselves with are higher lid people. So for me, I gravitate to somebody like a Grant Cardone in the areas of my personal growth that I want to see, because he's such a high lid level. For other people, it might be Mike Halloran on the finance side and making sure that all the right mechanisms are in place and strategies are in place for their business financially. It may be in the marketing side. So making sure that we have the highest lid people guiding and advising the businesses we work with is really important. One of the things that business owners don't do enough or learn enough is how to graph their success. So if you looked at your revenue lines, you looked at your margins, you looked at your profitability, your expenses, and then your profitability, and then you looked at your cash, you should be able to trend that out. Some people do it every quarter, every 6 months, every year, never. Some people do it daily. I'll tell you, Mike will have key performance indicators of how many calls, how many people are converting, what's the value of those contracts, how many of them are converting to cash, how many of them are getting pushed off. Because if you're paying attention to those things, making decisions like this can be a lot easier. And the reason I preface this is, if you're using gut and intuition, in fearful times, you tend to make the wrong decisions. Even in good times, people tend to make the wrong decisions. So in your particular case, answering that question would be completely dependent on the key indicators I just talked about and what the trending on those key indicators are. Because if you are trending positive, now remember, if you're coming off of a great quarter, you have a lot of momentum. And that momentum can give you a false sense of security that everything's okay. Because how you bill and how you collect your cash and when you record your cash, depending on how you're doing your accounting, can send a lot of mixed messages. So doing it in a format that is the right way to do it in order to project the right kind of information to make great decisions at all times is an important thing to learn. In your case, if you have the cash reserves, if you have the momentum in the business and you're still signing contracts at the same rate you were, if you have open jobs that still need to get taken care of, and you feel that and you're in the middle of all that, I would still make a hiring decision if the business needs it in order to continue that on. Because your choice is, if you don't make that hiring decision, that person's going to go somewhere else probably. Now, in my case, what I do is I ask, if they already have a job, I ask if we can extend it 30 or 60 days, right? So if this person is moved, they're waiting to go to work for you, and if you don't hire them, something bad's going to happen. That's one decision point. So there's a lot of context. I think in every decision you need two things. You need context and you need contrast. If you have great context to your decision and you have great contrast in this particular case is if you don't do it, what's the alternative? Context is if you do it, what's the impact? See what those two things are? So you would be the best person to answer that. Do you feel by bringing this person on, you'll continue your trajectory forward and you have the cash and the resources to make those decisions today?
Well, cash is definitely one of our weak points, and we're pretty low on cash, generally speaking. So that's probably the answer right there. Is probably don't do it.
Okay, so what's context now? What happens if you ask the person if you can delay the engagement by 30 to 60 days?
I think he could do it. He could wait 30 to 60 days. I'm bringing him on to replace somebody else that's going to leave the team later this year.
Okay.
So
what if you
need
compromised
him today?
What if you compromised? What if you said to the person that's leaving, I need to reduce your pay by 30% because we're getting hammered, and I need to pull this person forward, and you went to the person you're pulling forward and saying, I'm going to pay you 50 or 70% of what I was going to pay you for the next 60 or 90 days because I don't not want to hire you and I want to get you integrated on the team. And what if you actually compromised between the exiting person and the staying person, and you gave them an incentive together to say, if you guys work together and help me and we hit a bigger number in the next 4 or 5 months, I'll write you a spot bonus and make you both whole. So you need to think, it's okay to negotiate as a business owner. You don't have to stick in, there's no rules. It's not a black and white. I make the decision or I don't make the decision. You could easily be going to the person that's leaving and saying, hey, I don't need you because I need to have the new guy because I can't afford to have them leave when I know you're leaving, so I'm going to blow you out. And you can easily go to the new guy and say, look, I'm not ready to bring you in, but I don't want to delay you because you need the work and I need to get you integrated, so I'll bring you on at 70%. Or you go to both and say, here's my choice. I can either blow you out and bring you in for less money, or I can get you to take less money and stay here, and if we win together, I'll make it up to you. And the new guy, I'm going to bring you in for less money, and I'll make it up to you if you work together and help solve these problems. See, everything is a negotiation, everything's a navigation, and you shouldn't take anything off the table predetermined in your own mind because you'll make bad decisions.
Okay.
Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
I like that. I hadn't thought of that at all.
Nope.
That's fantastic.
And most people get locked into a direction, and then they create future problems because they didn't think through right now how to solve the problem they have. It's not just your problem, it's your new employee's problem and it's your exiting problem. You can make it their problem too. So you can either get them to come together with you to solve everybody's problem, or you can make somebody else's problem bigger so that you solve your problem. Collaboration with future team members and with exiting team members is an okay thing to do.
Awesome. Thank you.
Awesome.
Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
buddy.
Great, Ben. I just saw our friend Oliver Fernandez join us on Instagram, our buddy out in DC. So Oliver,
Perfect.
if you want to chat with us, I'd love to bring you on. While we wait for Rob Ruth, who we're going to talk to in the automotive industry here in just a second, I did want to bring two stories to light. Everyone's trying to predict right now. Everyone's trying to say it's only going to be, Bill Gates said it's only going to be 6 weeks. You've got Shark Tank. One of the guys from Shark Tank is saying it's actually going to be, 2 years. They expect that you're living hell. It's everyone's trying to predict. One of the stories I found interesting was this Starbucks story. If you could bring up Starbucks really quick. It's, now they're saying that Starbucks is reopening in China's coronavirus epicenter, showing us that the U.S. might bounce back soon. When you think of stories like this, Brandon, how should people read into predictions for their business?
Yeah, so look, I am a huge proponent for data. I look for data. Starbucks reopening in China soon is a data point. When it opens is a data point.
Right.
Somebody suggesting, I don't care if it's Gates or anybody, it's going to be a month, it's going to be 6 months. That's an opinion, it's not a data point. So the way my mind works is I am always searching for relevant data to give me an indicator as to what is actually happening and when. I'm less interested in perspective and opinion unless it's coming from someone who's researched the data. So in my mind, devoid of data, solid data, then I might listen to somebody and judge the character and quality of the individual. For example, if Grant Cardone, like he called me today, if he calls me and says, Brandon, here's 3 things that I think is going to happen, I already assume, because of my personal experience with him, that he's reading and looking at data because he's very good at data mining. Somebody else calls me and says, hey, I've got this idea and it ranges across this spectrum. And I say, what's the data? And it's just what I think. Then I'm dismissing it. So I think you have to be really good at finding data or connecting to people that you can trust that look at data. When Mike Howard, my CFO, or when Jared, who runs Cardone, or Sherry, who runs the operations for all the enterprises, or Grant calls me and says, we need to make these decisions, I already have 100% confidence they're making their observation from data. The question I have for every one of you in business is, who do you trust to give you guidance and give you advice based on data versus perspective or feelings, or perspective from somebody's feelings? So to me, I look for data. I don't look for opinion, I look for data. If somebody can show me the data, I will start listening. If they can't show me the data, I'm disinterested in the conversation.
Awesome. Let's take Instagram now. We're going to pull from Zoom and go to our Instagram. Can we get a visual? There he is, Oliver in DC on the Instagram Live.
Hey, Oliver, how are you, buddy?
Doing great. How are you? Doing great.
Awesome, brother.
Yeah.
So Oliver, tell us how this has impacted your business, and if you have a question for Brandon, go for it, buddy. This is your chance.
Yeah. No, so my business really hasn't been impacted that much because we do a lot of government work, and we're in construction industry. So right now, the buildings that we're working in are actually emptied out. So we're still practicing the social distancing while we're on site, but our jobs are still moving forward at this point in time. One thing that I have started to have an understanding of and just start believing more is, like, I can now sense the opportunity coming, especially with these bailouts coming and government taking action, that my business is going to have an opportunity to get more contracts. So at this time, when I'm seeing companies that are laying off workers, I'm saying, how can I bring some of these workers on and grow my business? And that's that thought process and that belief that I've gotten from being around Brandon and his team. And understanding that this is the opportunity now, not to retreat, not to run, but to continue to grow and continue to market the business.
Yeah, and pick up your competitors that are afraid right now, or sending weak signals. Sometimes people don't make any decision, but then they create insecurity with their teams because their teams don't actually know what the strategy is. So then they preemptively look to go somewhere else. And that's something a business owner needs to make sure they don't do with people that they trust and need to keep into the business. But Oliver, you guys are doing great. The other thing I would suggest to you is you start looking at modifications in the construction process. I would be Googling like crazy clean rooms or germ materials, anti-germ materials, or things that you could bring into the equation so this doesn't happen again, right? So as you guys start thinking about, especially in your business, because this is going to create a whole nother level of business for business owners, because people will not want to relive this whole situation. So to the extent that you can come up with innovative solutions to reduce like materials used or HVAC systems that could change things, or whatever it is, surfaces being put into place in a way where they're just much easier to clean and bacteria can't get collected. I'm not smart enough to think about that, but you should be researching stuff that you could incorporate into the construction process that would minimize the risk of this happening again, and offering it as an add-on to your current construction process and a retro to businesses that you've already done the work for.
Hey, Oliver, when's that baby coming? Is it like tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
Yeah. Is it really tomorrow?
First Cardone Ventures, baby.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Woo, dude. Congratulations.
Give it love. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Congratulations, brother. Thanks for joining.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
So I wanted Oliver, watch this clip. Hey, Leah, how are you? Congratulations. There she is. So beautiful. You guys watch this clip. I think you're going to enjoy this. I know you guys like a good laugh. I have to show you this, Brandon. If you didn't see the scene 4 days ago at the beaches in Florida, check out this quick clip. Everybody watch this.
If I get Corona, I get Corona. At the end of the day, I'm not going to let it stop me from partying. We've been waiting for Miami spring break for a while. About 2 months we've had this trip planned. 2-3 months. So we're just out here having a good time. Whatever happens, happens.
Like, it's really messing up with my spring break. What is there to do here other than go to the bars or the beach, and they're closing all of it? It's really messing. I think they're blowing it way out of proportion. I think it's doing way too much.
Doing us bad. We need a refund. This virus ain't that serious. It's serious. It's more serious things out there like hunger and poverty, and we need to address that.
Yeah, I mean, we planned this a long time ago, and it was kind of up in the air if we still go, but like we're here. I just turned 21 this year, so I'm here to party, so it's kind of disappointing, but we're just making the most of it. We met these other people in our little Airbnb spot, so we're just hanging out with them and trying to get drunk before everything closes.
I mean, it's so.
We've seen enough there, Bryce.
So this is
Great advice.
unfortunately, this is employees of the future, right?
Oh, boy.
And every one of those kids has a grandparent or a parent that they could be responsible for doing something devastating.
Yeah, right.
But people can be irresponsible. I didn't see that, but I'm certain that it's people like that
Yep.
cause governors to shut everything down.
Yep. Let's grab Rob Ruth. I know that the state of, I think he's in Pennsylvania, right? I believe he's in Pennsylvania. Rob, we're going to pull you up on Zoom now. And that state was, Rob, was it just, I think, 4 days ago when Pennsylvania ordered the non-essential businesses to close, and you obviously have a very successful dealership there?
We are shut down in sales, and we're essential for service. So
I see.
Half my business is open and half of it is shut down, and we are very sales dominant. So the structure I've had is it relies on my sales department, which also feeds my service department. So, my question for Brandon, right now I'm protecting the assets that I have, the cash that I have. Inventory is usually an asset, but it depreciates so fast in my industry.
Right.
So it's an asset and a liability right now. And I took his advice. You know, I made the tough decisions. We laid off 40 people yesterday. So there's a lot of uncertainty. So it's very, my focus has always been long term, but now it's very short term and, just day to day, like you said, month to month. So what advice would you give someone like myself or my industry? Because, we're small margins, high expense structure. How would I acquire more cash? And I'm sitting maybe about 6 months in reserves and credit lines right now, but I don't know if that's enough. So I want to be proactive and get as much cash as I possibly can, and then I can make better decisions.
Yeah, well, first of all, I commend that you were so disciplined. We've been working together now 7 months, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just proud of you for having the reserves that you have today. And
Here, hold on, we're switching your mic out real quick. Your mic just went out. There you go.
all right, can you hear me, Rob?
Okay. Can you hear Brandon?
Can you
now,
hear me
Rob?
okay?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
Okay,
Gotcha.
so
We switched mics.
my mic died.
So much good wisdom. The mic died.
Awesome. I commend you, Rob, for having the discipline up to this moment to have 6 months of reserves. You are someone that's been working with me for a while, and when you reached out to me and said, I need to know what to do, I sent you, it wasn't a lot of information, but it was very concise. Here's the methodology, right?
And I followed it.
And you followed it without even, you said, thank you, I'm going to execute. I think what's important here is that I confirmed what you were thinking you probably should do, but the process of doing it is scary.
Can't hear. Can't hear.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So anytime you have to do a riff or reduction in it sucks. You did. But it is both. Guys, we need a good mic here. We need one good mic. Do we have a hand mic or anything?
Hold on,
We're old school.
Old school manual. Hang on.
Okay. Lost.
Old reliable.
I'm not sure why our sound all went out.
Yeah, that's weird. Check one. Hang on, Rob. Check.
Yeah, I can hear that.
Oh, which
That
one
one.
did you hear?
That one.
Check one.
I can hear whatever you're using now.
This one right now, you can hear?
Yep.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, we got mics everywhere.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So, yeah, a little technical difficulty. We're going to have to get boom mics.
Yeah, hardwired.
All right. You hear me okay now? You hear me, Rob?
Yep.
Okay. Perfect. So because of your discipline and really paying attention to the details and aligning your team and doing the right things, you created the leverage in the business to have these reserves. Now the question is, what are we fighting for? And you have no clear line of sight for any revenue. You have to take your whole revenue line for your dealership and make it zero, right?
For the most part.
So now you have your service. So you've got a technical issue and a strategic one. So it'd be okay to sit here talking about different ways to innovate to sell cars and deliver them to people and get them to buy cars, but most people right now probably are not thinking about cars, right?
No.
So your question is a great question. I wish I had the intellect in every business to immediately tell you exactly what you need to do, but here's what I am going to tell you. Mike Halloran is watching this as well. Buck is watching this. I don't have an answer on the fly for exactly how we can pivot and grow your business in this economy, in this particular situation when you have no salespeople and no demand for cars. But we will work on a strategy with you over the next 2 days and start deploying some concepts and ideas because that's why you're part of this ecosystem and that's why you're working with us. Boy, you're in a tough spot. That whole sector right now has just come to a standstill, right? Have you reached out to your network? Do you know anybody in your peer group who's still figuring a way to break through and sell new cars right now?
I can't. I mean,
You can't,
legally,
yeah.
I can't. They'll take my license.
Yeah, because
So we're fighting a virus, and then I'm fighting a lack of total income.
the one thing
So
I will tell you though is you should be pulling down credit, even though you have cash.
Mm-hmm.
This is something for every business owner. Like, you should be pulling your credit lines down, because the government may go and extend that credit to you with some huge advantages or wipe it out in some kind of stimulus package. So if you have credit lines, you go hit those credit lines and bring them into your cash position. Don't let those credit lines sit out there. Show that you drew the credit lines down and you use that money to keep your business going, because there will be huge incentives and stimulus for business owners.
That's
And
a good idea.
I would also go to Ford and I would say, what are you guys going to do for us? Like, take.
Well, and they've deferred payments. So a lot of like my interest charges for my inventory, they've deferred payments. So that's what I've been really doing, is going to all bills that are going out and just talking to them about the position I'm in. And I'm just trying to buy time. I don't
That's exactly what you're doing. And take
I'm
as
buying
much
time.
money down as you can right now and use that
Correct.
money for the things, and then the government, then the next fight's going to be getting the government to subsidize or do some kind of incentives or waive it or whatever. But if you own a business and you have access to a credit line, grab as much cash as you can and start using those credit lines to sustain your business, because that'll be part of most likely what's passed in these stimulus plans.
Awesome. Thank you, Rob. Appreciate it. Hey, Rob, since you have been through a 360 with us and you're platforming with us, then you should have received your invite for tomorrow's 360 roundtable for the more exclusive, intimate setting with Brandon tomorrow.
And my CFO will be on that call.
Yep.
And, we're going to, these questions you're asking, things like this will be the kind of things that we discuss on some of those,
That's right.
on that for people that we're actively working with right now.
Yep. And if
All right. That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Rob. Appreciate it, brother. Thank you.
Yep.
For anybody that has not signed up for tomorrow's 360 roundtable and you're interested, maybe, Brandon, it might just, for real quick, 15, 20 seconds, explain what is a 360 if nobody's ever been to one, because they're not just getting the call. They're not just getting a free emergency business protocol book. They're not just getting access to you. They also get to attend a 2-day event as part of this fund.
Yeah, so the 360, when you think of your business, it isn't one dimensional. There's so many different aspects of your business. So when we talk about 360, we talk about the circular view of every element of your business. You have marketing, you have sales, you have operations, you have finance, you have your teams, you have all these things that you have to do in order to make that wheel bigger, 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 right? With momentum. And so what happens is almost every business gets technically out of alignment at different stages of its growth. So when it starts out, it's me and I'm selling something that I have awareness and understanding of, and then I start selling enough of it, or I build a product, then people start buying it, then I have an accounting person, and then I hire a third party to do some marketing for me, and next thing you know, I get bigger and bigger and bigger, and I have a $50 million business, or a $10 million business, or a $1 million, and I got all these people doing all these things, but those things don't actually work together.
Right.
And so it's in the fact that those things aren't supporting and working together that causes the business to actually struggle versus the actual business opportunity.
Right.
When you eliminate the struggle between the interconnectivity of all the elements of the business, and you get them all working together so they complement each other, the business actually propels forward, and this is the whole concept with 10X. It will 10X grow because the technical aspect of the business is working against itself.
Right.
So what we do is identify all those technical aspects, and then we align it with what the business opportunity is. Most business owners build their business from the inside out. Mm-hmm. So I have a concept on a product or an idea, and I'm going to start it, and I'm going to get bigger, and I'm going to get bigger, and I'm going to get bigger, and one day I have something of some size.
Yep.
People who have built multiple businesses, like myself, like Grant Cardone, we think of the business from the outside in. Mm-hmm. So we have this concept or this service or this product. How big can it be? And once we identify all that, where do we start to move to that? Versus probably 70% of businesses are started down here and hope they move to something. Well, the delta between the opportunity and where it's at is usually an unknown. Mm-hmm. It's not known. But when you learn to make it known, then you can conform the business to take advantage of the opportunity. And I think in our particular case, for me, I want to see what the opportunity is first and then understand that, and then go down and see how we're executing against the opportunity. Most business owners don't have that view, and I will tell you, to create that view, you're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars of research databases and experience, and business owners just don't have access to that. So we bring that perspective to the business owners we work with, and we put the elements in place to allow the business to grow effortlessly and take advantage of the market opportunities where it has an expertise and create the most profit, the most value possible for those businesses, business owners, and teams.
Yep. And so we host these 360s all around the country. We go everywhere from Scottsdale to Dallas, Los Angeles, Miami. We're in Miami a lot at Grant Cardone's headquarters. And so if it's an event that you would like to attend, you can get exclusive access to the roundtable, and you can start paying today for the access, not just to the roundtable, to Brandon Dawson and to the entire executive team, but also to that 2-day 360, 10X 360 event.
I want to add, the beautiful thing about having a leader like Grant Cardone and to be a business partner of Grant's, Grant reminds me at least monthly that if we do anything, we can't just do it for the people who are the big people or big businesses that can pay. We need to be able to deliver it to everybody, because that's Grant's mission.
That's
Scalability at the most expensive level, all the way down to the least expensive for that one person or that one situation. And so he called me today again. What are we doing to bring value, support, and help to all the business owners? This is your expertise. That's why we partnered. What are you doing? What can you deliver to them now to give them help and support? And so that preempted this conversation of, we need to start the roundtables. We need to be doing these things, because he's been calling me every day for the last week, demanding that we bring these resources. So that's what we're going to be introducing at the end of this show.
Perfect. We have this amazing inspirational message today from John Maxwell, who you worked with. And
I love John. He's a dear friend. One of my strongest mentors. And this clip you're going to show, I watched it this morning, and I was like, right on.
This is it.
Let's play it.
You see, sometimes I hear people say, well, they were made in a crisis. Crisis don't make us. Crisis reveal us. When a crisis comes, whatever is on the inside is what will come out. When you squeeze an orange, guess what you get? Orange juice. When you squeeze a lemon, guess what you get? You get lemon juice. When a human being gets squeezed, what's inside, positive or negative, will come out. You see, choices make us, crises reveal us. And I want us to really understand this, because we have control over our choices. We don't have control over our conditions. And if you're in a leadership role, I just want you to know, you can't moan and lead at the same time. So figure it out. If you're going to lead, you and I have to be able to give people hope, and moaning doesn't give people hope.
I love John. I've spent a lot of time with him. He's just such an impactful human being. But you couple the number one thought leader in the world, in the globe, one of the best human beings in the world, and then you go and you listen to Grant Cardone's YouTube video with the same anguish that Rob had about having to fire 40 people or lay them off. And you can see it in his eyes. You can when you see Grant talking, you can see the pain. Nobody wants to do this.
Rob too, Grant.
That's what I'm talking about. Rob, you could see it. He was holding himself back. You could see it with Grant. It takes a certain strength in people to make hard choices in the moment, because in that moment, what Grant's not thinking about is just the people he has to remove from the situation, but he's thinking about the obligation of the people he has to protect. And in live fire, making those kind of hard choices is what John Maxwell was just talking about. You can't bemoan. You don't have time for that. You have to fortify. And in the process of fortifying, you have to make calculated decisions. And the more experience you have, the better process you have to do that. But I think what's really important here is when you listen to that clip with John, and then you go back and watch the YouTube message from Grant, listen to Rob. I commend these men for making, and all the women that run things that are making hard choices. I commend them because this is the moment that expose how tough you are.
Right.
And the fact that, it's tough to pull the trigger and make hard decisions, but then to sit there and be able to talk about it is even tougher.
Yep.
To expose yourself publicly and to talk about it and show that weakness and that sensitivity that you have to the situation, but doing it in a way where you're not showing the breakdown. I guarantee you, I as a human being have had plenty of moments where I've buried my head in my pillow because I didn't want anybody hearing me and bawled my eyes out. I guarantee you these men have had those moments. I can feel it right now. I feel it because I've been there. This is such a shitty thing to feel. The superintendent of my daughter's school was going to join on this thing. He had to send all the kids home, all the teachers home. Like, loss of control is such a painful thing. And then to have to make decisions that hurt other people to preserve the bigger picture, the mission. It's painful, it's devastating, but it has to happen because in that moment, if you don't make the decision, it kills everything. And so that's what John's talking about. And the bigger leader you are, I watched a YouTube video of some guy talking shit about Grant.
Right.
And I'm thinking to myself, listen to what he's saying. He's saying, this is why I stay small. This is why I don't have employees. This is why I have my own little thing that I can control. This is why I'm going to go and slam somebody else or talk shit about somebody else because I'm a scared little chicken shit. And I'm going to just be small so I never have to make hard choices. That's what I hear when I hear this person talk. Right. Am I cutting out again?
Just a little bit here. We'll go old school.
So when I hear people talking about staying small and being small and not doing big things, and that's what it really means is I'm too scared to man up in the hard times. I'm too weak to put myself out there for fear of failure. I'd rather sit back in my little studio and take cheap shots at everybody else who's actually trying to do something, and then take cheap shots at them when something completely unexpected comes in this world and wipes out. Like, how many major businesses sent employees home? How many huge corporations shuttered divisions? How many hard choices around the world are being made instantaneously every day, and somebody's going to sit there today and judge the quality of character of somebody who's building something huge because they're too afraid to do it? Like, listen to what these people talk about. Staying small, being small means I'm okay being irrelevant, and I'm going to try to make myself relevant by talking about somebody else. Like, I just, those people, get rid of them. Squeeze the juice. Yeah, you see the juice in that person. That person's a weak-minded, scared person who's not willing to make any commitments to anybody but themselves and try to poke holes in everybody else so that they can look like they're bigger than they are. That's what it is.
They're going to take advantage of
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. So we're over time, 6:15 here. We've gone a little bit longer. Do you want to do one last bonus question?
Sure. Let's do it.
Should we look through Zoom really quickly, Bryce, and see if we actually? Why don't we pull up Zoom real quick?
Hey, Bryce, I'm okay. I'll use this thing here.
We'll use this. Awesome. Pull up Zoom really quickly, and let's see. Raise your hand if you probably can hear me. I'm shouting to the mic. Raise your hand if you got a question that you want to.
Did we ever answer Sean's question? Because he raised his hand. You called on him.
Ask your question. Let's
Yeah.
pull Sean up. Sean, unmute, buddy. Let's go.
He's been waiting for a half hour.
Let's go. Sean's in Salt Lake City. Let's see. Can you pull Sean up? You got him? Hang on, Sean. Bear with us, Sean. First 10X Owners Live. Did you get him? Get somebody to
There you go. He's right there.
There you go. You see him, Sean?
Right there.
You're coming. You're coming. There he is.
Hey, Sean. Oh, can't hear you. You got to unmute him.
Hang on. We're going to unmute you. Hang on, buddy. This is what you get with the bonus question. We're almost there. We can see you. He's still muted, guys. Can you unmute yourself, or can you guys unmute him? There we go. There we go. Give it a shot. Nope. Nope. Go. Give it a shot, Sean.
Yeah, Sean, can you unmute on your end?
Do you know sign language?
We can't hear him, guys.
That's all right. He's good on our end. He is good on our end.
He's good. Can you hear him? No. No? We can't hear you. You're unmuted on our end. Oh, wait, he's got his earbuds.
Let's see. Back up. We'll try 2 more seconds.
All right, we'll give you a couple more seconds. Sean, mess around.
Hear me now?
Now we hear you. Boom.
Hey, we got you.
All right.
It's not working. I don't know why. How about now?
Yeah, we got you.
You got me now?
Yep. Go for it.
Okay, cool. So, Grapes, this has been amazing so far. Thank you, Brandon, for your time and everything. So, my industry is being affected by this since I do shopping center advertising, and the whole stay-at-home thing has basically put a hold, almost like the auto industry, on my industry in a sense, because 2 reasons. Some shopping centers are shutting down, and then the others that are open have much less traffic. So my question is like a 2-part question. 1, what would you do in terms of your clients? Would you actually be proactive and be reaching out to them with some kind of concession for the time they're going to lose out of this? Or would you be waiting for them to get to you if it's something that they feel is affecting them? You know, that's been one of my struggles in this. And the second part, which I kind of started handling, I've had 3 of my clients so far, which has not been a lot of my main clients, come to me and say they wanted to either prorate March and then hold off. So what I did is I put together an agreement, and basically so far everyone has agreed to it, where I held off 30 days basically, and then put provisions in that would allow that 30 days to go longer if needed, or shorter, where if certain guidelines were met. Let's say the shopping centers open back up, or their business all open back up, or reach 50%.
Yeah,
you know
so
what
Sean,
I mean by that?
Sean, yeah, a lot of data. So let's get to the basic question, which is, you're in the business of advertising for shopping centers who don't have traffic right now and aren't spending money. So what I would say to you, first and foremost, segmenting your customers is really important. There's a whole bunch of things you asked there, and I don't want to miss anything, but I probably will. First of all, your first question is, should you be reaching out or waiting? You should never be waiting. You should be reaching out to your clients, every single one of them, in real time, personally saying, hey, this is Sean. I know that you're spending money to do these things, and based on the conversations I'm having, some people are questioning what they should be doing. Let's reallocate those dollars to something else that could make an impact right now. So you should be thinking about where those dollars could go that could help them in the current times. So instead of eliminating spending any money, how do we reallocate to something that will actually drive awareness in the community to go someplace or do something? And I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head. We'd have to work on this. But the point is, you should be thinking of solutions for all of your clients. You should be calling every one of your clients and saying, how are you feeling about right now? Don't presume they want to stop paying you. Like, that's the one thing I see people call is, I know it's so hard, and they go to port, versus, hey, maybe this is the time to lean in while your competitors are pulling back. Maybe this is the time to do something that you've wanted to do with the dollars and reallocating them to something that's more innovative. So you should be thinking about that. You should be calling every one of your clients. I would make the initial call, which we've been doing here with Cardone. Call them and say, hey, this is Sean. Listen, I know that this is crazy times. I just want to get a bead on, what are you doing with your ad budget? What are you doing with your strategy? What are some of the unique, innovative ways that you're thinking about driving customers to transact with you, even though they can't huddle at the store. Like what? Get data. So I'm a data guy. I would call every one of your customers and find out, because maybe there's things they're doing that they figured out that when you put all that together collectively, you can start offering those suggestions and solutions to clients that aren't thinking about it. And then they're thinking, man, Sean called and gave me a great idea. And if you can monetize that idea, that'd even be better. So you need to be looking for the needle in the haystack. Traditional business, the way you are doing it, is not working right now. What are the creative and innovative ways, and what are the recommendations and concepts you're getting from your current clients that you could reformulate to turn to your existing clients and actually charge them for guidance, charge them for advice. Say, hey, listen, for every dollar you spend, 80 cents of it's going to pay the third party. Pay me the 20% and I will go find all the best ideas and bring them to you in real time and consultatively help you through this. Find a way to monetize your existing state by going deeper into your formidable relationships, by adding substantive value, and then be in the place when things kick back on that they're like, dude, if I was ever gonna do business with anybody, it would be you, because you proactively did all these things and helped me and created all this value for me. And then they'll spend more money with you when everything course corrects. So the most important thing is the continuity of the relationships that you have. Second most important thing is proactively communicating and talking to those relationships by segmenting the highest valued to least valued, so you don't spend your time with the wrong people having the wrong conversations. Third most important thing is collecting as many great ideas as you can that you can then turn to everyone else in your ecosystem and add value to them. Fourth most important thing is a strategy to monetize that, maybe going from you collecting all the money and whatever they spend to a consultative, because all you want to do is cover your nut. Like business owners, I know that it costs me exactly this much to be in business today. Every single person that works inside of Cardone Ventures is being positioned to, we are all revenue generators and we need to generate this much revenue in order for all of us to stay here and have our jobs, or we all are going to start reducing our paychecks commensurate with our decline. Everyone should be on point.
Interject real quick.
Yes.
So yes, I get. So here's my question. So in terms of my current business, we have a single source of revenue stream, right? It's the directories and so forth in shopping centers that these businesses advertise on, right? So let's say that's my one main thing. One thing I thought of was, like you said, so far, most of our clients are just continuing through because they have long-term contracts and they probably feel like this is short-term, hopefully, so things will pan out. So what I did is I put together an agreement which keeps them in the contract, but gives them that 30 days of leeway.
Yeah, so Sean, listen, this is too much detail for this particular. You need to give you on tomorrow's call. You need to find a way to get into tomorrow's call. Have my CFO on the phone. Have my marketing guys, so we can have a legitimate conversation on how to solve this problem. But the one thing I heard you say, so this is what I do, right? Data. I heard you say they pay to advertise inside of something.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
Here's
inside of the directories in the mall that show you how to go around with the advertising. That's
yeah. So I want you to think about, between now and you being involved tomorrow, how do you take what they paid to be inside of something, and how do you take that outside to the people that need to see that? That should
Social media.
Take it to somebody. So you need to figure that out. In the old days, you know how I made money when I was 18 and lost my job in Atlanta, Georgia? I sold 10% and 20% ad spots on the back of plastic cards and went from neighborhood to neighborhood and handed them out for all the local stores so that they could see that it was an affinity card and they could get a discount by working with that. And I made the businesses pay me to put themselves on the back of that card, and then I went and distributed them. Think old school, think innovative, take the outside, take the inside stuff and take it out to people. Think differently. Don't get trapped in the way you've always done business. And then when everything's going great, you're going to have two businesses. You're going to have the new business that you figured out how to make it work, and you're going to have the old business that you know works. And that's what innovation's all about. Incremental improvement on a granular level that creates a higher impact across the spectrum of everything you're doing.
Awesome. Thank you.
You got it. You got it, guys.
See you, Sean. Thank you, buddy. Hey, not bad for the first 10X Owners Live. Thank you, everyone, for taking time out. I know that Brandon delivered a lot of value here. If you're looking for, like Sean, a little more detail, a little more clarity, we've gone high-level breadth. If you want to get detailed, I think we should embarrass Josh right now. We should let's go to the Nick cam. Let's show, there he is back here working hard. There he is, Josh. That's the guy you want to connect with.
So, Buck, should we tell what we did to accommodate everybody? So that
Yes.
they know?
Yes.
So here's the deal. We are going to, for this program that's tomorrow, for people who are spending, because our programs are expensive, there's a lot of value. They're anywhere from 30 grand or 10 grand for a scale-up day to 150,000 with platform and 10x 360. So that private community is for us to get all their questions and be able, as a team, to go through them and then answer them back and then send them individually that information, but then address it on the call for that community. Anybody that wants to be a part of that community for $995 a month,
Okay.
they can join into that community, okay? And you just email Josh and he'll get you into that community. And here's our commitment. However long this goes, at $995 a month, so if it's 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, however long this goes, that you're in that community, taking advantage of this wisdom, listening to your peers, tackling real problems, real things, conquering real issues right now, 100% of that money we will apply to a 10x 360 program. So if you, there's a lot of people that were on the list to go to those 360s, but they hadn't yet started paying because they're out 3 or 4 months. If you're even remote, if your business is greater than $100,000 or $1 million, and you want to start being part of a community that's solving real problems and being able to ask great questions and have those addressed, to have access to our team for $995 a month. You can be part of that community and have access to us, and then 100% of whatever you spend will credit it towards a 10x 360 when you want to go to a 10x 360. And so therefore you're not losing anything, and you're getting instant access to the people that we're currently working with that are in our ecosystem already.
That's great. Email jdawson@cardoneventures.com. That's the email. Thank you everyone for popping in. We're gonna do this every week.
Every week.
So next Tuesday, we'll do it again, 5 o'clock Pacific, and then of course, we'll do it 8 p.m. Eastern. Brandon, thank you very much. Thank you to the whole crew. It took a lot of people. We're all 6 feet apart. Just so you know.
I want to say one thing too. When you're a part of a group like this, there are so many ideas that are going to come out. There's so much opportunity with using telemedicine or using online training or using online sales. Everyone's being forced into that. We're going to be hearing best practices and talking about businesses that are crushing it, doing things differently and innovatively. And I would say that value alone for people to be a part of this community is unbelievable.
No doubt. Yeah. Absolutely. And that is why Manny_Alvarez on Instagram just said, Brandon, you are the GOAT. Thank you. Love
Little
it.
goat.
Manny, thank you to Instagram, Facebook Live, YouTube Live. Thank you, Zoom, all of our awesome people. We love you. We'll chat with you tomorrow if you're in the roundtable. That's right. Round of applause. We'll see you guys
tomorrow on the roundtable.
I ain't scared to lose a fist.